here again. And thank you for joining me on this second day of the workshop. And I wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping things first. And as people are jumping on, so I figured I would just bring these things up. Um, Somebody mentioned yesterday that my smoke alarm was going off during the meditation, the guided imagery, and which made me laugh because afterwards I had to hunt down where it was coming from, and it was buried. There was a smoke alarm that was buried in a bunch of things. Um, and finally found it because the battery had obviously gone dead. So thank you for reminding me because I think I was kind of oblivious to it at that point. The other thing is that remember to do the homework, and there is a post on the site. This is your booklet, Sacred Alchemy After Loss. And if you didn't get one, please just post and ask for one. And when you do the homework, all you have to do really is, if it's a question with like three answers, just give one answer and you only have to do one question. But the whole idea is that whoever does that by the end of the week will get an Amazon gift card if you do it each day for each of those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. So let's see who we have on here now. Okay. All righty. So I'm looking. Oops. Okay. If you're here, just please let me know. Hey, nice to see you, Linda, Haley, and we're just waiting for a couple of people to jump on. Um, okay. So what I'm going to talk about today is guided imagery. And normally, what I would do is start out with guided imagery, but we're going to do a little bit backwards today because I'm going to, at the second half, I'm going to play guided imagery piece for you that is fabulous, and it's for whole body, whole health healing. And I got interested in guided imagery many years ago. I'm just trying to think. It might have started with creative visualization, which, by the way, is not guided imagery because normally visualization doesn't utilize all of the senses, but guided imagery does. And usually, what happens with guided imagery, because you're utilizing all of the senses, you can go into a trance state. So it is often considered self-hypnotic. So it's a wonderful thing to do because you can control it. You can control what you see. You can, what you're putting into the guided imagery itself and what results that you want. But I found that for me, years ago, I started doing, like I said, from creative visualization from Shakti Gawain. And that was one of the first books I think I ever read on it. And she was totally an advocate of this and really helped you to understand the importance of working with it because of the unconscious. So I started to do that. I'm trying to think, it's got to be, oh my goodness, it's more than like 20 years ago, more than that. Yeah, because that was one of the things that I did before I got pregnant with my daughter. And I wanted to have a healthy body, and I wanted to be in tip-top shape. And at that time, I was doing a lot of Pilates, and so I wanted to do a program for myself that utilized guided imagery. And at that point in my life, I was really on top of the world. I mean, I was really feeling good, and guided imagery was definitely a part of my daily routine every single day. So, keeping that in your life is definitely good if you're having any health issues or if you're looking to change anything in your life. So, I wanted to bring up some of the factors, because this is evidence based. There's evidence research in this. Um, that it's a form of self hypnosis, like I just said, because it involves all of your senses, and it actively focuses your mind. So you're not just lying passively there. Your mind is really functioning and bringing in the images and the sensory pieces that you want to experience. It mobilizes the unconscious, and it processes and assists with conscious growth. Now, that's a biggie if you think about it, because what I'm all about is growing consciousness for myself and for people that I work with. And it's a major factor in terms of changing the world. If you're growing consciousness, you're growing yourself and you're changing the world, because you're looking at it from a much wider perspective. You're bringing in the spiritual element. And oftentimes people don't think of the spiritual element when it comes to doing guided imagery, or when it comes to expanding yourself or growing consciousness, but that's what it is. It's about getting bigger. It's not about, playing small and being in your conditioned self. And if you remember, we were talking yesterday about the conditioned self and the importance of understanding it and knowing when you're in your conditioned self as opposed to your authentic self. Because when you're in your conditioned self, it's going to stop you. It's very crafty, depending on who you are. Well, any of us, it's very, very crafty. So it may be like just a little twinge of, nah, I'm not interested. Or it could be a big, loud, what are you, crazy? You're going to do that? Or, nah, it's not something I really want to do right now. So it's subtle, and yet it can be very bombastic too. It can be very big. So it depends what's going on with you. And it has many, many ways that it's going to bring itself out to you. And as we talked about yesterday, the conditioned self is the wounded part of you, the part of you that had issues with usually some adults, or that you were misunderstood. And as a child, we misinterpret things too. And I'm not saying abuse we're misinterpreting. I'm generalizing this. As children, we can misinterpret things too. And that could actually become a wound. And, nobody was even the wiser for it. But a lot of times what's happening is we're being raised by wounded adults, and they're bringing a lot of their wounds with them that have not been dealt with. And so consequently, we're the recipients of those things. And very well-meaning parents, not saying that these parents are bad parents. Some people have had experiences that were not so great in childhood, that were very damaging and abusive. That's a whole different ball game. But I'm also speaking about the parents that really had their good intentions for you. They wanted to do the right thing, and they thought they were doing the right thing. And the bottom line is, when we know better, we do better, right? So that's how it always works. And that's why it's important to expand your consciousness, because when you know better, you do better, you bring that out into the world, and that makes a huge difference, period. It makes a difference in your life, and it also makes a big difference in the life of people that are on this planet, which are about 7.5 billion at this point. So that's a lot of consciousness to change. So I think that I've got my work cut out for me, and anybody else that is interested in growing and changing consciousness, there's always going to be something to grow. There's always going to be something to change. And as I had mentioned yesterday, people want things to be different, but they don't want to do anything about it. They don't really want it to change. They say they want change. They just don't want to make the adjustments in their life that will bring that change. And when we grow consciousness, we automatically have a different element that's operating, because when you grow in consciousness, it's all of a sudden these broken parts of you start to get mended, and you start to have a perceptual change. So perceptual change is, it doesn't usually come overnight. I mean, we can have things that'll happen and all of a sudden we realize something and it's like, oh my gosh, this was like huge and I never knew it. But for the most part, perceptual change takes time. It takes time and it has a growth factor to it. So when we're talking about guided imagery, um, so here's some of the evidence-based research. First of all, it's 40 years that they've been validating and working with it, and I don't know who they are, by the way, but I know that this is evidence-based. So it involves health, it involves guided imagery, can help your overall wellness, your attitude, meaning expanding consciousness, behavioral change, that's a perceptual change. It's not like something that you have to white knuckle it to do, because if you have a perceptual change, you're not white knuckling it anymore. It's like it fits right into your stream of consciousness like a glove, and you're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I can do without it, because that's a habit. And believe it or not, all these habits can change. It's also about developing peak performance. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I think it's Tiger Woods that used. I think he used guided imagery a lot in his game, and but there may have been a few years where he didn't because he wasn't doing so hot. But he's been back on his game now, and he's like a master at this point and doing extremely well. But in less than 10 minutes of hypnotic guided meditation, you can reduce stress, you can reduce your blood pressure. Now, that we would know automatically, right? Because it's inducing a relaxed state of being. And so automatically your blood pressure would go down because your stress levels are going down. But also, it reduces your cholesterol and the hemoglobin A1C levels that are in the blood. And that's important in terms of people that have diabetes, but just all the rest of us, because you want to make sure that that's all in check. It seems like as people get older, a lot of times they develop diabetes, but if you were doing guided imagery on a regular basis, a lot of these factors could either be reduced significantly or eliminated. Um, it can heighten short-term uh, immune response. So immune cell activity, I mean, it's not immune response, but because it does affect your immune response too. But immune cell activity, it helps to, facilitate healing in fractures and in bones. It helps to, it's known to reduce, oh, because I did this too. It's known to reduce blood loss during surgery and to lighten the use of painkillers. Now, one of my surgeries that I had, because I've had 3 surgeries, and I was very insistent that, I was going to do guided imagery through the surgery. And I had this in the hospital in Boston. All of a sudden, I'm forgetting the name of it. That's right, Brigham Hospital in Massachusetts. And, they're very progressive, and they were very all for it. So during surgery, they allowed this to be played, and I had earphones on, and my recovery time was amazing. I mean, I left the hospital the day after. I didn't do so well from the anesthesia, but my recovery time was great, and there was no problem with blood loss. It all went very, very well. So I know for a fact that it's really good for surgery. Another factor that's really important to consider is that if it's lowering stress, it's also lowering anxiety and your ability to tolerate pain. It may not completely eliminate pain, but may lessen it. Some people it may eliminate, depends how bad your pain is and what you're going through. But anything that can lower anxiety, and anxiety can come from any situation. Some people are just prone to more anxiety than others. This is I mean, I always felt, and I always do feel extremely relaxed after guided imagery. and um, and I actually never even really knew what anxiety was until I had an incident that happened to me, which I will explain that to you later on before we do the imagery. Um, it also, I talked about the increase in athletic mastery, such as what occurred with Tiger Woods, but it's also used a lot in theater. I was involved with theater for years because I had studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in Manhattan. And so it was automatic that a lot of actors will utilize this sort of thing to help them. And it's a wonderful tool. It'll help you with your writing skills, it'll help you with test taking. Anything that you see that you want to have some sort of support in, that which would also include if you're going to have a big meeting and you can visualize this outcome, you can visualize the meeting happening and like it's happening in real time, and how you see yourself behaving in that situation. Public speaking, um, weight loss. It's very good for weight loss. It's very good for smoking cessation, um, which is really wonderful because I don't know about you, but anybody that I've known that has quit smoking has had a difficult time quitting. Um, you know, some people can go cold turkey, but they often return to it 3 and 4 times. And that's not always the case, but that's oftentimes what I have seen. And, guided imagery can be a huge, huge factor in being able to reduce some of those cravings and help to keep you on track. So it's also proven effective when you're receiving chemotherapy, if you're on a ventilator. And unfortunately, we know about that from what's happening, with COVID, when people were on ventilators. And so that's another piece where it can be very helpful. Um, Dialysis, when you're going to get a biopsy. So if you practice it regularly, which is what you have to do with most of these tools, you have to make them a part of your life. And, you know, I made a habit of making guided imagery a part of my life. Now, I haven't done it as frequently as I used to because I used to do it every day like clockwork, along with affirmations, which I know a lot of people think are fluff, but we're going to talk about that another day because they're actually really good messengers for the unconscious. And because I am interested in heightening and developing consciousness, that these are some of the factors that I know work. Um, with a regular practice, it also increases your emotional depth. And, because again, you're developing an awareness about who you are, and you're developing and expanding the vision of who you are. It'll help increase your spirituality, your connection with your spirituality. And oftentimes we don't really talk about spirituality other than in a woo-woo sense. And which, by the way, I can't stand that term woo-woo, because to me, spirituality is one of the bedrocks. It's one of the foundations of who we are. And if we don't acknowledge that, if we don't know that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and I'm sure you've heard that because it's all over the place, then what do you think we are? We can expand. We're energetic beings. We have an expansiveness to us. We can grow. We can never stop growing. I mean, until you're on this planet, until you leave this earth, you will be growing unless you choose to stifle it, or unless your conditioned self is operating so powerfully that you're not able to attain or accomplish what you really want, or what you think you could have, or what you need to get better, meaning your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, all of it. It also increases your intuition. Now, when you're doing the visualization, meaning the guided imagery, because visualization is very different. Like I said, visualization is you're normally just working with pictures and you're normally not including all of the senses. But when you're working with the visual aspect of guided imagery, you're bringing in all the senses. It is going to heighten your intuition, and it does heighten your intuition. You start to become more aware of the subtleties and energy that are around you, and increasing that. Well, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that, don't we all want to be able to be a little bit more intuitive, because your intuition will help guide you. It increases empathy and compassion. You begin to, because you're expanding now, right? Because you're expanding, you're increasing your ability to love, you're increasing your ability to have a greater sense of care for people and for all sentient beings around you. You want the world to be a better place. Also with abstract thinking, now, abstract thinking doesn't happen with usually until people are about 25 is when the brain really develops to that point where you can begin to think abstractly. Until that time, that's why you see kids doing crazy things. It's like, jumping off of a bridge because they think they can do it, and the bridge is way up there, and they think, oh, that's nothing, I can do. But they're not thinking that, is there something underneath there? Is there concrete under there? What if I twist my neck in a certain way because I'm really not a great diver? What could happen? All these crazy things. And this is where young adults or teenagers in particular think that they're omnipotent. And as parents, that's something that we have to kind of try to guide our children, and hopefully, they're going to use some really they're going to use they're going to exercise correct thinking on this piece. But you know some people don't. So anyway, and they always say, I don't know how I made it through my childhood. So I think I'm one of those people. I was never like a really dangerous person, but I think I had an aspect of that in me sometimes. So anyway, all of those things are important to realize, and that anybody can do guided imagery because it's safe, it's gentle, it's a powerful tool for expansion, it's a powerful tool to help yourself, and especially if you're doing it consistently over time, because it works on your unconscious. And because it works on your unconscious, you can do it while you're sleeping. So you could put the earphones on while you're sleeping. You do not even have to be awake, and it's dumping right into your unconscious, which, when it does that, it's like going into the deepest part of yourself. And then it's like there are these waves of this awareness and this energy that is constantly working on changing in a positive, healthy way. It's not like you're doing guided imagery for something that's crazy, right? Um, so really think about that. Really think about utilizing that in your life, because there are so many things on the market. And the person that I actually made a guided imagery MP3, which is on another computer. But if somebody wants that, I think it might be about close to 30 minutes long, but I will definitely get it to you. Because the person that I was using was Belaruth Neperstack, and she's very well known in this community for, I mean, I don't know how many, MP3s or CDs that she's produced over the years, but numerous, for everything under the sun that you could imagine. And I'm trying to think if hers was the one that I used for surgery. It might have been. And I'm constantly making copies of that CD, and I would give it to people whenever they were up against some sort of surgical event, because I wanted them to be able to experience the power of this, because you could listen to it for like a few days before your surgery to prime the pump, because here we go. This is the idea, is like you want to prime the pump, because the more you listen to it, the more it's seeping into your unconscious, the more it could be drowning out that conditioned self that wants to hold you back, because the conditioned self is afraid. So it wants to protect you in the conditioned self way. If you think about your small child doesn't really know about some of these things that you might be wanting to do. They just think that there's something frightening about it because they don't know about it, or because they're afraid to experience this something new, whatever it is. So it really does its job to hold you back. But what I want people to understand about the conditioned self is that one of the kinder, gentler ways to deal with conditioned self is by talking to it, just saying to it, you know what? I know you're trying to protect me, and I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you wanting to protect me, but I am the wise, loving adult, and I don't need protection. I will protect you. And, you use that kind of talk just to soothe the inner child that's in you, the wounded inner child. And once you do that, it's still, it's not that it's going to be away completely. It's always going to occasionally try to pop up, but at least you've identified it, and you've, in a compassionate way, you've really helped it to calmly calm down, to calmly calm that voice down. So, what I was going to do was I wanted to tell you a little bit about my healing story, and then we're going to go into the guided meditation. Um, because I wanted to do the homework piece with you so that you understand and have some answers for yourself when you do the homework. The first one was, how does guided imagery and meditation help with loss? Well, it helps with loss because you're creating a relaxed state of being, first of all. If you've experienced loss, oftentimes you have a lot of other things operating, like anxiety, stress, racing thoughts, that kind of thing. And it also it heightens your immune activity. So everybody wants to have a heightened immune system, right? So not to the point where they talk about you've got an immune disorder. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ability for it to function properly. Okay. And the other thing is that it, like I've just said, it lowers anxiety and pain. So those are the three. One of the three things would be sufficient to express in a homework piece. And the other thing is ways to utilize guided imagery, which we just talked about, is that you can use it to increase your athletic endurance. Skiers, I know, utilize that too. Swimmers, there's just so much that you can do with this. Any athletic activity that you could think of, and you can utilize it to relax. All of us could use a little bit of relaxation, don't you think? Um, you could envision yourself getting the job that you want, and you could see yourself in the position that you want. So you could utilize this for anything that you might be thinking of, because it's only going to make it easier for you when you actually are doing the interview, or you're actually doing the speaking, or you're actually doing the presentation, or any of these things that you are going to be doing in your life that you need to prepare for. You could actually do guided imagery a few days before and get it done. Or, just do it like a few minutes before, just so that you relax yourself and put yourself into the right frame of mind. And then the last one is expanding your awareness and empathy. And we all want to be empathic, don't we? Because that's what this group is about. This group is about creating empathy. It's about creating consciousness. It's about creating compassion, and understanding that all of our losses are something that all of us have been going through in our lives. And it's, thinking that a loss is necessary sounds really ridiculous. And like I have said, I didn't think I needed to lose my brothers in order to grow. And that was a devastating situation for me. But it happened, and I did end up feeling, after about, oh God, 6 years, I was at least that I was in this really heavy duty grief state, because my brothers, I had a very close sibling relationship with both of them. And even if I didn't, I would still have a loss, but it might have been a little bit different. And loss happens to all of us, and it's more than just, and not just, but it's more than a physical loss. There are numerous losses in our lives. So I'll tell you very quickly about my loss that I incurred again, which was I had an event when I was living in Germany. My husband was going to be coming over and living with me because I would be there for a year. And I had gone from, I'm thinking now, I think I was in Italy, India, and then I went to Germany. And so I had done a lot of traveling in a short period of time. And one day I just wasn't feeling right. I wasn't feeling right when I left to go to Germany. And when I got there, I still wasn't feeling right. I think I was very teary. And by the way, I have very little awareness of exactly what happened to me within this period of a few weeks, because I don't have any recall of the. I think I was there for maybe 2 weeks or so before this happened. So I had promised my husband that I would go to the hospital, or I would go to see the doctor. Somebody was supposed to take me, but what happened is they had knocked on my door, and I didn't answer. So they just assumed that I wasn't going and I was out somewhere doing something else, but that wasn't the case. I mean, I had passed out and I was unconscious on the floor and in my apartment in Germany. And my husband, thank goodness for this, he was always keeping track of me when I was out of the country, if he wasn't, because he wasn't there, on his phone, just to know, where my phone was, because he knew that if I had my phone with me, that, whatever I was doing, he could find out. And we communicated some of that way, or at least it made him feel better to know that he could know where I was. And he had noticed that my phone hadn't changed positions where it was. And so he quickly called the people that owned the apartment and told them to check on me because he was very concerned. He thought something had happened, and they found me. So anyway, I spent um, a few weeks in the German hospital, and this was on a military base, and it's probably the biggest hospital in all of Europe, where that is. And my understanding is I got good care. My husband came, and they believed that I had gotten a parasitic infection, and so the parasitic infection had created had wreaked a lot of havoc on my body, and I was not, I just wasn't aware of what was going on. So I ended up, you know, after I don't know how long he was there. I think it was probably that was another 2 weeks. Um, so then we were flown, and they were going flown out to Washington. They were going to put me in Walter Reed, and decided not to do that, and then flew me out to Albany, New York, because we live in Saratoga Springs, New York. And I was put in the hospital there, and so it took me. Um, I was at the hospital for, I'm not sure, I think a couple of months, but I had to learn to walk. I had to learn to feed myself. I had to learn all these daily living skills. I had to learn how to um, type on a typewriter again. I had to learn how to, just to take care of myself. It was really a challenge. And luckily, I had a lot of support around me. I had my wonderful daughter, I had my fabulous husband, and I had friends that came to see me in the hospital while I was recovering. And which, by the way, friends are, you know, true friends are, there's nothing more incredible when you're in a space where you're feeling very vulnerable, or you're feeling alone, then to have a valued friend come and just want to cheer you up and want to let you know that they care. And so I had that. But my healing journey then consisted of like 3 years, and I'm still on the end of it. I'm doing very well now. You know, I'm walking and I'm obviously talking and I'm doing all the things that anybody else could do if they had their body that was fully functioning. But I just have a tiny bit of issue still with stability, but that's getting better and better. And it's been a process. And part of my healing journey really utilized not only the support of friends and the support of family members, you know, people that loved me, but also it involved some of these tools that I've been sharing with you and what I've been talking about, the guided imagery. I had support. I'm a big advocate of therapy because I'm a modern psychoanalyst. I utilized psychotherapy from the time I was 25, and I think with very rare exceptions that I have not been in psychotherapy because it's a wonderful experience. I'm just not talking about going there and ruminating about my day, but you know, really discussing the issues that might be going on with me that I want to work on and that I want to get better because I'm interested in growth. I'm interested in consciousness. So here we go. So this expanded my life, this experience. The experience of my brothers dying expanded my life because I had to go through this process of learning and I had to go through this pain that I went through when they died. And, you know, the reason I call it a necessary loss is because you can't grow unless you have certain losses, right? And we all go through them. So these two losses are probably two of the most prominent losses in my life, but I've had little ones along the way, and I'm sure that you have too. So if you agree with me or you have an understanding of what I'm talking about, just put it in the comments, please. Just say, yes, I understand, or yes, I know what you mean. And I'm going to go into the guided imagery. So let's do that. And okay. And this is Belle Ruth Napperstack. And I hope everybody can hear this because I actually recorded it on my phone last night. And I really, 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 really liked it. Um, okay. So here we go. So get yourself in a position, whether you're lying down or whether you're sitting in a chair, get comfortable, put your body in a position where you're comfortable and relaxed, or you could be, you could be sitting in a chair, you could be lying down. Some people like to lie on the floor, whatever works for you. And this is about 21 minutes long, and it's going to take us right almost to the end. So we'll just have a short chat afterwards, but I want to make sure that we get this going now. Okay. All righty. Here you go. Do you hear this? I'm Belle Ruth Napperstack, and this is guided imagery that I've designed for people who want to assist their body's natural tendency to repair and heal. It's not a substitute for medical treatment, but a complement to it. More and more people find that using their minds in this way helps them relax, feel stronger, and get well faster. And it seems that when you take a more active role in your health, you generally feel better and do better. In fact, recent research has shown that using imagery can produce some remarkable changes in the body. It can alleviate pain, reduce high blood pressure,
and boost the immune system, to name just a few. The program weaves several mind-body healing principles into the story it tells. It begins by helping you to relax and clear the mind. Then it calls upon your senses and memory to engage your imagination. And finally, it encourages you to experience a story that contains many healing images. All you need to do is settle in, relax, and let yourself listen. Some of the images will be more meaningful to you than others. Let your mind change or edit them as it sees fit. And because imagery is more effective when it is felt in the body, there are many feeling images for you here. You may find that as you use this over time, it has a stronger and stronger effect. Sometimes the images just naturally shift and change of their own accord. Don't get concerned about whether or not you're listening attentively enough. Relaxed concentration is best, but over time the words and images that are good for you will seep in anyway. If you notice your mind wandering, you can gently guide it back. And because the imagery encourages a dreamy kind of awareness, please don't play it while driving. Every now and then, this will bring forth unexpected emotion. If this is the case with you, see if you can allow the feelings to just come up and move through you, seeing it as a necessary kind of rinsing that's taking place. It won't hurt you to do this, and it may in fact be very good for you. The second segment has about 20 minutes of affirmations. These are positive statements that can be very useful in the healing process, a sort of reprogramming of your unconscious mind to combat negative thinking. For some people, affirmations are more effective than guided imagery. With any of this, take what is useful and leave the rest. If there is an image or phrase that is especially meaningful to you, try to play it over in your mind several times a day. When you brush your teeth, stop for a red light, or even better, just as you enter that twilight zone just before falling asleep. An especially powerful time to do this. Listen to this as often as you like. Most people do well listening twice a day, morning and evening. After several weeks, you may want to put it aside for a while, try some others, and then come back to it. Every now and then, you may want to review these instructions as a way of keeping yourself on track. So see if you can take this next while to commit yourself to this process of engaging the power of your imagination to help yourself heal, by gently immersing yourself in this safe and easy process. To begin with, see if you can position yourself as comfortably as you can, shifting your weight so you're allowing your body to be fully supported by the chair or the bed that you're in. And taking a couple of deep, full cleansing breaths, inhaling as fully as you comfortably can, sending the warm energy of your breath to any part of your body that's sore or tense or tight, and releasing the discomfort with the exhale, so that you can feel your breath going to all the tight, tense places and loosening and softening them. Then gathering up all the tension and breathing it out. and more, you are feeling safe and comfortable, relaxed and easy, watching the cleansing action of the breath with friendly but detached awareness. And any unwelcome thoughts that come to mind, those too can be sent out with the breath, released with the exhale, so that for just a moment, the mind is empty. For just a split second, it is free and clear space, and you are blessed with stillness. And any emotions that are rocking around in there, those too are noted and acknowledged and sent out with the breath, so that your emotional self is still and quiet, like a lake with no ripples. And now, imagining a place, preferably outdoors, where you feel safe and peaceful and easy. A place either real or imaginary. A place that you used to go to, or somewhere you've always wanted to be. It doesn't matter. Just so that it's a place that feels good and safe and peaceful to you. And allowing the place to become more real to you in all of its dimensions. Looking around you, taking the place in with your eyes, enjoying the colors, the scenery, looking over to your right and to your left, and feeling whatever you're sitting against or lying upon, whether it's sand or grass, a pine needly forest floor, or a nice warm rock in the sun. And listening to the sounds of this place, birds singing or leaves rustling, a gurgling stream, or crashing waves. Letting your ears become attuned to the wonderful sounds of this place that is so safe and peaceful to you. You might feel a breeze blowing, crisp and dry, or balmy and wet. So just letting your skin enjoy the wonderful presence of this place, and smelling its rich scents, salt sea air, sweet meadow grass. And as you become more and more attuned to the safety and beauty of this place, feeling thankful and happy to be there, you begin to feel a kind of tingling, a pleasant, energizing something in the air all around you, something that contains expectancy and excitement, a sense that something wonderful is just about to happen. And you may even smile to yourself, because perhaps you haven't had that feeling in a while. But now you do know with some certainty that there is magic in this place, and that something wonderful is just about to happen. And no sooner does that certainty settle around you, when from somewhere above you, a powerful white light softly and steadily moves down, forming a tent of vibrant, tingling energy all around you. A pyramid of humming energy, illuminating everything it touches with exquisite brightness, highlight definition, vibrating color, giving everything it shines on a fresh, new beauty. You can feel Feel the air around you intensifying, glowing, dancing with sparkling energy. And with a sense of wonder and gratitude for such stunning beauty, you feel the tingling energy of the light moving down through your body, softly entering your head and neck, your shoulders, chest, gently massaging and releasing as it moves down your spine, filling your back and torso, penetrating into the layers of tissue, deeper and deeper, slowly and steadily moving into every organ, massaging and cleansing and clearing as it goes, down into the bone, moving down into your legs and filling your feet, all the way to the very ends of your toes. Feeling the vibrant, gentle light working its magic deep inside your body, moving with deliberate intelligence to places that feel tighter, tenser, heavier, and kneading and softening them, cleansing and clearing them, dissolving the tightness, and feeling the spaces open up as you breathe into them. Understanding that swollen tissue is shrinking, tense muscle is softening, sore, unhealthy places are dissolving. And you can sense that the light is even scanning the body cell by cell, that it is finding irregular cells that may be starting to form, and deftly, easily dissolving them, turning anything that might contribute to your discomfort into a neutral kind of dust. And knowing that the light is not just reaching into the body, it is not just unhealthy tissue that is dissolving, but that pockets of painful feelings stored in the body are dissolving too. Old hurts and resentments melting away. Ancient griefs and fears loosening. Harsh expectations softening. Feeling crusty pockets of old guilt and self-hatred break down and disintegrate, becoming harmless, neutral dust. Feeling all through your body the penetrating power of this remarkable, healing light. And feeling the shift on the inside as your body aligns itself to its vibrant energy. And with a peaceful, safe, easy feeling, you watch as the light slowly begins to withdraw, returning to wherever it came from, until it is gone altogether, for now, knowing it is yours to call forth again, whenever you wish. And you take a deep breath, feeling the widened spaces that are now opened, enjoying the stillness. And you begin to hear a very soft breeze, feeling a gentle but deliberate movement of air against your skin. Sweet, soft air, carrying the scent of newness, like fresh sheets, or ocean air, or baby skin, fresh and new. And you watch, surprised but not surprised, as this soft breeze doesn't stop at your skin, but moves right through it, effortlessly wafting through skin and muscle and bone, through each and every organ, through your very cells, moving right through you, lifting up and carrying away any dust or debris that might be there, anything you don't need or want. A cleansing breeze, fresh and new, sweeping right through you, clearing away any trace of disease, leaving you with sweet, new, open spaces, soft and expanded, and sensing the roominess, breathing into the open spaces, feeling the freedom, the spaciousness, as the gentle healing wind moves through you, knowing that this sweet magical current of air is not just cleansing and clearing the tissue of the body, but that it is carrying away old rigid ideas and harsh expectations about who you should be, how things should go, blowing away sour, negative thinking, releasing punitiveness toward yourself and others. And you can just watch all of that float away, feeling it lift and drift on out, soft and easy, on the back of this gentle singing breeze. Feeling peaceful and easy as the soft, cleansing wind gently moves on, and hearing it fade, knowing it is yours to call forth whenever you wish, and enjoying the spacious feeling you are left with, breathing deeply into the wide, expanded places. And now you notice, moving up from the ground all around you, a gentle, fine, healing mist, soft and nourishing on your skin, delicate and fine, softly moving up and surrounding you, perhaps carrying the scent of rich, moist soil. And again, you can feel this rich, fine mist move deliberately and intelligently through your body, gently rolling through skin and muscle and bone, through each and every organ, replenishing the healthy cells, encouraging strong new growth, activating the replacement of whatever is needed. And you can see the cells plump up as they soak in the nourishment, rich and full and strong, saluting to your health and strength, vital and determined, aligned with their original blueprint. And you know that it is not just your body that is receiving this nourishment, but that the mist is soaking a new softness into your whole being, a gentle, sweet forgiveness of yourself and others, a permission to be who you really are, to trust in your own essential goodness, to trust in your ability to fulfill your purpose, to be conscious of what really matters to you, to expand into the generosity of your true nature, and settle into the peaceful stillness at your center. And as the mist softly subsides, you are certain, you know with your whole heart, with your whole being, that you are the light, you are the breeze, you are the mist, letting the warmth and softness of that awareness fill you, feeling peaceful and easy, open and spacious. You once again see yourself in your safe and peaceful outdoor surroundings. Although the colors around you might be brighter, the sounds more vivid, the air more alive, you might feel that something powerful has happened, that a major shift has occurred and will continue to occur, with or without your conscious working on it. And you know that you can call forth this place, the light, the breeze, the mist, whenever you wish to further the work that you have already done. So once again, feeling yourself sitting in your chair or lying down, breathing in and out very rhythmically and easily, gently and with soft eyes, coming back into the room whenever you are ready, knowing in a deep place that you are better for this. And so you are.
Okay. So we are at the top of the hour. We're a little bit over, but just very quickly, I just want to say that I appreciate every single one of you for participating in this and just being a part of this because it's your energy that is helping to carry this, what I'm doing, bringing it out into the world even more so. And I really hope that this is giving you something. This is giving you something more. Um, could you just write in the comments, if you how you felt about this, whether you liked it or not? I don't think there's anybody that's going to say they didn't like it, but I was hoping everybody could hear it. So you could just indicate, yes, I really liked it, and that I'm hoping that you're able to continue because tomorrow I think we're going to be talking about sacred space. That's going to be a good one. So, my energetic friends, you have been wonderful. I feel your energy. I know that you're here. Your presence is important to me. Thank you so much. All righty. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye now.